Some deals were not meant to last. It feels so great to be in the driver's seat. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks a lot for hanging out. I hope you guys are having an awesome day. You know, when it comes to reserve list shopping, we had those real boom and bust type eras, and we're in a bust right now where a lot of people who have money get to decide which cards they want to buy, which ones are worthy of their hard-earned dollars. So a lot of cards are just falling in price, collapsing in some cases in a lot of small areas where before these reserve list cards may have been flourishing. Some people will immediately say wallet fatigue and you need cash flow and there's all kinds of issues. You're right, all those things and above and more. Everyone's situation is different. But if you're in that moment where you're not in a bad situation and you can look down from on high and say, I can afford those cards, you might end up going to buy some. Maybe not. I understand. Not everyone's a reserve list shopper. I get it. But as a person like myself who loves the reserve list and loves buying near mint cards like this when they're this cheap, I had to share some of these cards with you guys today. I had to get it out there and let you know because deals like these are only going to last so long. Eventually things rebound. You don't know when, you don't know how fast, but you have to decide for yourself when that moment is. And the cards on today's list, they're not all expensive. And I showed most of these cards starting from 2020. So you can see kind of where they were at the high and how low they go. And then you can decide for yourself if any of these cards are worthy of even a moment's notice. Let's get into this. Let's have some fun with it. Because when you're looking at reserve list cards, it's a long-term hold. It's not something you buy 1 week and flip a month later. These are cards you buy because you want to enjoy them. The artwork, the nature of the cards, the playability. And maybe you want to hold on to it for 10, 15 years. See if it grows on you. And if not, maybe then you sell it. Maybe. That's why we say hold the line. I mean, considering how many reserve list cards you can get for $1 or $2 still, especially right now with this kind of bust era we're in right now, it's a great opportunity to start snagging up really cheap reserve list cards, even if they have no playability, just to say you have a piece of the reserve list. Now, I have a lot of reserve list cards. I'm not really worried about myself. But I know what happens when these cards start to go up and everyone goes into that feeding, piranha frenzy. They all start eating each other alive trying to get those cards. And if you're a person holding those cards, extras maybe, you may have that opportunity to flip that into some profit. And that's always a good thing. Those who are smart and see ahead are the ones who do well. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's take a look at some cards today. Let me know what you guys think. Let's get to it. Okay, let's take a look here. I'm going to mention this card until people get it right. Tolarian Academy. Look at this price. This card, I'm starting here, you can see, it was at $300 at the high, around 2020, 2021. $300. This card is banned in things like Commander for those who care about bannings. I mean, I just play with it still. My friends don't seem to mind. You look at that and you say, okay, it's a banned card. Lots of funky cards get unbanned all the time. If this card ever does get unbanned, yes, it's going to $1,000. It'll be a rock star. I get it. It's going to go through the roof. But right now, you can get this thing for under 150 US. That's pretty crazy. And that's near mint, by the way. When you're looking for heavier played copies of a card like this, you can do a lot of stuff that most people don't realize. Right? Adding 1 mana to your mana pool for each artifact you control is amazing. And yes, there are cards that stop it. Things that blow up your land. And that's why I keep thinking this card should be unbanned. But I'm going to let it keep dropping. It's kind of leveling out right now. But if it continues to drop, if you think I'm not going to pick up some near mint copies to hold for the channel, to give for prizes to patrons, to work stuff out later, that it's too good of a deal to pass up on. When you compare it against things like Gaia's Cradle, Sarah's Sanctum, other cards from the block like this card really cannot be ignored for the fact that you can still play casually with it. It's not banned in every format, which is kind of cool. And you know what? You don't have to follow the rules if you don't want to, which is kind of nice. Right? It's still you and your playgroup deciding these things. Epic card, man. Just nuts. Now, our next card. Check this one out. This is the Silver Wyvern, okay, from Stronghold. Now, this card is not expensive. We're talking $4 or $5, okay? It never reached a super high level. But look at it tanking down. This card was like a dollar card forever. Now, it's settling still less than $2 for the market share of this card, but when you look at it, is it really that bad? You got a 2 blue, 3 other. Okay, the card has flying, it's a 4/3. But look at its ability. 1 blue, target spell or ability which targets only Silver Wyvern. I said sliver, you see that? Silver Wyvern. Targets another creature of your choice instead. Play this ability as an interrupt. Think of all the cards people play to mess up individual targets. You know, things like Hero's Downfall, stuff like that. Things that kill things. Imagine being able to retarget that. It's going to make a player think twice. And the card's like $2 for a near mint copy. $2 US for a near mint copy. Yeah, I wish it cost $4, but things did cost more back then. But the artwork's nice. It is reserve list, and it's literally $2. Like, how can we not appreciate a card like that and say, is it not going to end up maybe going into a deck at some point? Or if there's some other way of getting creatures and sneaking them onto the battlefield for less casting cost. I mean, there are ways of making cards like that connect, and it just makes opponents think a little bit harder before they use some of their single target spells on what they want to do with that spell. I think it's a fantastic card. All right, now, our next card. Come on. Sliver Queen. Check this out. Starting in January 2020, spiking up by May of 2021. Look at that. And it's been going down ever since. That is amazing for players who've always wanted to have their Sliver deck and you want to have that Queen. This is what I'm talking about. One of each generic type. Great. 7/7. Dude, guys, come on. It puts slivers into play. This thing makes an army of slivers. That's why she's the queen. That's why, you know, this is what makes the world go round. Enjoy it. This card was well over like $500-600 before, right? I remember this card being like 600 and change Canadian. And now you're talking I can get this thing for $350 Canadian. This is one of those cards that's a mid-level, right? Not super high level. It's not Mox or anything. But it is a good mid-level card from Stronghold on the reserve list with a lower print run that's never coming back around. Look how much a box of Stronghold costs, because sometimes you get 2 Sliver Queens, you can get 2 Mox Diamonds, you can get some crazy stuff inside that box, and it's a really good card that most people want to have in a Sliver deck. Yes, there are substitutes in other cards, but you don't substitute for the best. Love the Queen. Hope, you know, people can get it at a reasonable price, and that's a near mint. Imagine going for heavily played or moderately played just so you can say you own a copy. It's a great time to be a reserve list collector. That's all I can tell you. Okay, the Commander. Remember the Commander? Guys, it's the Commander. I know, we're not talking Star Trek here. From Tempest, Commander Grevin Ilvek. All right, this card's less, you know, it's $5, guys. Let's just put it that way, nice and simple, $5. It was over 20-something dollars. Look at the value lost on a lower end reserve list card like this that nobody cared about. And you start asking yourself, why were people even buying the card? When you take a closer look at this guy, you see, number one, Tempest, older set. Artwork's pretty good. I don't mind the artwork at all. It's a 7/5 for 6. Now, usually cards like this have all kinds of drawbacks. This is no less. When it comes into play, sacrifice a creature. So depending on what kind of deck you're playing, you better have something to sacrifice. But Grevin cannot be blocked except by artifact creatures and black creatures. Okay, typical of the old day, guys, where cards go away black. You can only block, you know, a black creature or a target non-artifact creature. This guy is going to come and get you. It's a 7/5. It's not exactly a wimpy creature, even by today's standards. This guy's got some powerhouse moves. He's going to body slam you, break your back. I feel like I'm watching WWE right now, maybe some MMA, and he's ready to rock the world. It's a 7/5 for 6. Yes, it costs a little bit of mana, but this guy could still see play. Just depending on the decks people build, and if you're trying to make a deck that has big creatures that don't get blocked, this could be the right card for you. And we're only talking $5. Think about what you can get for $5 now. You can't even buy a Big Mac, but I can get a card that's like almost 30 years old that's never coming back. That's what I'm talking about when you're looking at reserve list cards, when you're looking at that ability to say, this card's not coming back, this card has value. Now, we all know the reserve list cards all have different values based on how the playability of that card comes into effect, what formats it's allowed in, all that yummy, jazzy stuff. But cards like this that were $20, do you think it'll never go back up to 20? Was that a one-off? Because if you look, it didn't exactly just drop down like a stone like many of the other cards. This card had to fight to go back down. People held on. People were watching this card. And people probably lost money selling into a bad market. But now that's for somebody else to take up that mantle and say, maybe I want to get a playset of 4, all near mint, and never worry about it again. And just have it for the collection for future years to come. I don't know, but it definitely looks like a okay, fun card to me. All right. I can't pronounce that. I'll say Lord of Leaves from Tempest again. Now, this guy was like $150. We're at like half price again. Okay, that's like amazing. It's down like half price. I remember actually cracking one of these when I opened some Tempest packs here on the channel. People said, oh, it's a great card, don't get rid of it. So when you're looking at the Lord of Leaves, I mean, this card around that 2020 time, right? You know, January of 2020 kind of coming forward. And it started slowly going up. $5, $10. Then we had the big spike in January 2021. Stayed really high, and it's been trending down. I don't even think this is the bottom for this card right now. I don't think we're done. I think we have a little while to go. But a 2 casting costs 2, which is epic for back in the day. Okay, this isn't like it's just a bear, right? Not a grizzly bear from Unlimited or something. This is an actual card that has playability. All elves gain Forest Walk. Elves cannot be the target of spells or abilities. This is Elf Tribal before we had Massive Elf Tribal. Way to go. Amazing card. If you don't own one, maybe you're never going to build with elves, but if you're ever thinking about it, that's a card you really can't pass up. And maybe it takes some trade. Maybe you got to trade in a fetch land or something, but it's a card you can grab at a reasonable price right now. All right, another one. And this one got bought on my channel too here, guys. We bought some copies of this. This is Ancestral Knowledge. Now, if you look at September of 2020, had a spike, totally collapsed. Then January had another mini spike, got to that $20, $21 level, kind of went down. And if you look there at around April and May of 2022, it creeped up to the $20 level again. And it didn't hold, okay? It didn't hold, I get it. But when you look at this card, you have to ask yourself, for $12, is it really that bad? 1 blue, 1 generic. Yes, it has a cumulative upkeep, but there are ways around that. When Ancestral Knowledge comes into play, look at the top 10 cards of your library, then remove any number of them from the game and put the rest back in any order. Whew, you don't have to remove any. You can just organize 10 cards into a perfect order. Imagine using that in Commander. I mean, guys, being able to rearrange your deck and make things happen a certain way, especially if you know the top 3 cards are the ones you want, or maybe you think an opponent might be flipping some cards out. They won't know what order you've put in. That's kind of awesome. Okay, that leaves some real like mystery effects going into the game. And then the worst case scenario is it leaves playing and shuffle your library. Then you can find a way to bring enchantments back. There are enough choices nowadays. That's not a big deal. All that for $12, $13. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like an insane good deal to me for a card like that to be had by people. If they're playing blue, if they're working something into a commander deck, it just seems awesome to me. Now, Undiscovered Paradise from Visions. Whew. Now, this one's been as high as $50. It's about not quite the half price mark right now because it does have playability. Landfall decks and stuff love a card like this. You can see I'm showing again kind of 2020 onward. It hit around the $60 mark, kind of been creeping down, kind of gone up, kind of creeping down because people do recognize this as being a good card. If you're aiming for this card, I'd go for the near mint because it is cheaper to buy it than it's ever been before. You might as well put the ducats in there, put the shekels forward and say, that's a card I want, because adding 1 mana of any color to your mana pool is amazing. But then at the beginning of your upkeep, you know, on your untap phase, you got to, pick it up and put it back in your hand. Okay, I get that. And that can be a real drag. But if you need that immediate mana, or if there's some point in the game you just got to tap it for mana, it's nice to know that anytime you need that one color, it's going to be there. Even if you have to pick it up. It was there at the moment you needed it. There's also ways, by the way, people can sack these and bring them back. And there's all kinds of crazy combos you can look up. I love it. And it's just been dipping down in price. And it's just starting to dip again. I think this card's going to go to the market price of around $26, $27. It's definitely on my hit list right now of cards I'm watching. I mean, how can I not at those price levels? I remember people paying $50, $60 to get that card. And now you're telling me I can get it for less than half of that near mint? People will look for that card again sooner or later. So you might as well take advantage. All right. Kjeldoran Outpost from Alliances. Now, this card just hit above $40. I remember this happened. We talked about it on the channel. I remember telling people to buy this card at $8, $9. And then it started going up and started trending upward, and people are using it in some commander decks. I have it in my Angel commander deck now because being able to pump out little creatures is just fun under the sun. And when you look at it and you say, this card's $40 and now you can have this card for only $18 US, okay? When it comes into play, you got to sacrifice the plains or bury the outpost. Add 1 white to your mana pool, but tapping 1 white, 1 generic, and tapping the outpost to get a 1/1 creature, think of the other cards out there. The Castle Eldraine, those cost 4 plus tapping the land. Think about some of the combinations. This thing costs a couple of mana less to use. You can always pump out 1/1 creatures at the end of turns, emergency blockers. That shouldn't go into a white commander deck? You're kidding me, right? It fits in anywhere. Anywhere. Because it gives you a supply of creatures basically for free. I don't know. When I see cards at $18 like that, I'm just saying there is opportunity knocking. Maybe nobody's going to pick up. Maybe nobody's going to answer the door. But maybe somebody will. Okay, Soldevi Excavations, guys. We know it's one of my fave cards. We know. We love it. We love the Excavations. Remember this, though. When it comes into play, you got to sacrifice an untapped island. That is kind of a drawback. Or you got to bury it. But it itself does tap for 1 blue and 1 generic. This thing taps for 2 mana. But it's the bottom effect that actually makes this card a playable card in Commander. 1, and then tap Soldevi Excavations. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card on the bottom of your library. Okay? This card has been as high as $45. Okay? That was buyouts from people on my channel, people like myself picking up near mint copies, grabbing stuff. We've done it a couple times. I know where there's a large stash of these cards worldwide from people communicating that to me. That's why it's the army of Soldevi on this channel. We don't sell this card. We always hold it. But when you look at that, and you look at Castle Vantress from Eldraine, and that was tap 4 to look at the top 2 cards, it's an imitation of this card. The cards from Eldraine are just imitations of cards that already exist, but at a weaker ability level. These are the better versions, and better yet, you can put both in there and give yourself even more scrying ability. Like, wow. People just don't see it sometimes, but that's okay. That's why we're talking about it right now. Okay, Lake of the Dead. I saw, now it did get bought, but I saw a copy of this go for $58 US. Okay, it was a beat up copy, I'm going to admit that. But seeing it dip that low and seeing where it's been when this card was $300. And people said, I'll never be able to afford this card now. It's out of reach forever. Well, guess what? It's not out of reach anymore. It's still going down. This card is, I mean, the artwork, wow. Okay, wow. But this card is still falling in price. It's not holding up. It's crashing. Enjoy the crash. Take the elevator ride down, guys. Take that ride right to the bottom. Enjoy it. I'm not saying you have to buy it now. I'm not saying you have to buy any of these cards. But if any of them interest you, then pay attention to them and watch for deals. Remember, some of the LGSs out there might be selling these cards and you can get like 5% off coupons, 10% off coupons, depending on which YouTuber you're following. Fusion Gaming, right? If you're following somebody like Nikachu and stuff. Matt Caster Mage, I think, has the face-to-face one. We can get 5% off. I mean, there are deals out there, guys. And if you use some of these other YouTubers' account things, if you're on TCG Player, if you buy cards there and you use my link, well, it gives me a discount at least, which I appreciate. Okay? But that's how stuff works. Like, you can get deals out there. You can find a way to save a few extra dollars to get even better deals than what I just showed you right now. Amazing time to be shopping in the reserve list ocean right now. Love it. And people are releasing. They're releasing some of the fish they've caught in the past and putting them back out there. Look for the biggest, baddest ones. Get the near mint. Hold on to those bad boys. Make sure you can afford to do so too. Never put friends and family, never go over budget. Guys, thanks a lot for hanging out. Thanks for chilling out with me on the channel today. Had a great time. I hope you guys did too. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys all tomorrow. Enjoy. And of course, a big shout out to all the amazing patrons on the channel. Thanks a lot for making things like this possible, everyone. These videos are brought to you by the patrons, the YouTube supporters of this channel. Patrons make the world go round. Hey there, special people. Which would you rather have? A near mint Lake of the Dead for $112 US, or maybe a box of, I don't know, New Capenna for $100. Oh, I know you're taking the Lake of the Dead because I would too. Reserve list cards are so cheap right now. My eyeballs are looking. I'm just picking up cards I really want for some decks right now and loving every moment of it. Have an awesome day, everyone.